Hello and welcome to another episode of Soap Goes to the Oscars. This is episode 44. I'm recording this on September 9th, 2024. I also watched the movie this day. And this time the movie was The Barretts of Wimple Street. And I found this one. I thought it was available on a site called Daily Motion. And it was. However, it was with a Russian dude translating everything as it was spoken. So I quickly discovered that I wasn't able to watch that version. So I did end up watching this on the OK.ru site, where I watched another one of the movies this time around, like a Russian social media site. So I'm trying to avoid that site, but I was in a pinch. I didn't feel like renting it. So that's where I watched it. Let's see. This is still the 7th Academy Awards ceremony with movies from 1934. And I'll give a little Wikipedia on this one. So as I said, it's The Barretts of Wimple Street, directed by Sidney Franklin. Screenplay by Donald Ogden Stewart, Ernest Vajda, Claudine West. Based on the play of the same name by Rudolph Bessier. Produced by Irving Thalberg, starring Norma Shearer, Frederick March, Charles Lawton. Cinematography by William H. Daniels, edited by Margaret Booth. Music by Herbert Stothart. Distributed by MGM. Released on September 14th, 1934. It's a runtime of 110 minutes. One thing I find interesting reading the Wikipedia on a lot of these movies is that, there was a lot of writers, editors, stuff like that were women back at this time. It's kind of surprising to me. So this is a 1934 American romantic drama film. It's based on the play of the same title, as I said. It depicts the real-life romance between poets Elizabeth Barrett and Robert Browning, played by Norma Shearer and Frederick March. Despite the opposition of her abusive father, Edward Moulton Barrett, played by Charles Lawton. The film was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture, and Shearer was nominated for Best Actress. There was a 1957 color remake directed by the same director, Sidney Franklin. So, depiction of events, the numerous love letters that Robert and Elizabeth exchanged before their marriage give readers a great deal of information about this famous courtship in their own words. Correspondence was well underway before they ever met in person, he having admired her collection of poems that she published in 1844. He opens his first letter to her, "I love your verses with all my heart, dear Miss Barrett." And a little later in that first letter, he says, "I do, as I say, love these books with all my heart, and I love you too." It's from January 10th, 1845. Several editions of these letters have been published, the first being one compiled by their son in 1898, Flush, a biography. The version by Virginia Woolf from the perspective of Elizabeth's dog is also an imaginative reconstruction, though more closely based on reading the letters. Both the play and film reflect popular concerns at the time, particularly Freudian analysis. Although Edward Barrett's behavior in disinheriting any of the children who married seems bizarre, there appears to be no evidence of his being sexually aggressive towards any of the family members. There was a weird moment with Charles Lawton where he allows his daughter to kiss him, and it was sort of a weird moment. Last thing here, for the screenplay, all overt suggestions of incest were removed from Bessier's original play. Charles Lawton, who played Edward, assured producer Irving Thalberg, "They can't censor the gleam in my eye." Yikes, Charles Lawton. So this, just a couple of things. One, Norma Shearer and Frederick March were in another movie that I watched earlier. I think from the last round, it was called Smiling Through. And Charles Lawton was also in one from the last round called The Private Life of Henry VIII. He played Henry VIII. I will say that, it said that she was nominated for Best Actress. Norma Shearer, there were two moments in this where it was probably the most real acting I've seen in any of these movies. Just two moments, and I hard to even describe them here, but I really felt like she was the character. Whereas a lot of these movies at this time feel, they're putting on those affected accents and sort of over the top a little bit. And she just had a couple of very real moments that were very good. She was very good in it. It was good. It was a little too long, maybe a little drawn out, but I say that all the time. But it was decent. Like I said, some good acting all around. The story is basically she plays Elizabeth Barrett. She's been sick her whole life, basically. She's a poet, kind of sequestered in a room. She has like 7 siblings. And the father's very overbearing and, won't let them see anybody, won't let her see anybody. It's going to affect her health. He says she's his favorite daughter. But meanwhile, she's been writing letters to this Robert Browning, and they've fallen in love over letters. And when they meet in person, they want to get married and go to Italy and all this stuff. One of the other daughters is courted by a guy, and they're going to marry. And that's the one I think that the father says she can kiss him, and it was just sort of weird. I wasn't sure if she was a daughter or a friend. That may have been a friend. Now that I'm thinking of it, maybe it was, I don't know. Anyway, then like the youngest daughter meets a guy and he's a soldier, and the father sort of catches them in the room together with the sick daughter there, Elizabeth, and thinks that there's something going on and forbids her to see him anymore. And sort of at that point, Elizabeth decides that she's just going to leave and marry Browning, which apparently is what she did. So, again, based on a true story, I don't know how much of it is actually the full truth. But looking at the cast here, how many Barretts were there? There was Elizabeth. So Edward Moulton Barrett was the father, Charles Lawton. There's Elizabeth Barrett, Henrietta Barrett, Arabelle Barrett, Octavius Barrett, Charles Barrett, George Barrett, Alfred Barrett, Henry Barrett, Septimus Barrett. There's 9 of them. So there's a lot of Barretts. He was prolific, and the wife is dead through all this. So, it's just him being an overbearing dick. So it was good. It was, again, it was a little bit stuffy. They play sort of an upper class family, and a little bit like the House of Rothschild. It was like, stuffy upper class people, and that is sometimes hard to take. And I think maybe that's why I felt like it dragged on a little bit at the length that it was. But overall, very good acting, and interesting that it's based on a true story as well. So I liked it mostly. So I got a few more here for this round, 3 more to be exact for this round of Oscars, and then we'll move on to 1935. But until then, I'll see you next time.